They are our inspiration, our hope, mentors, and game changers. They are your leaders in the political arena, business world, entertainment, and in the paradise of sports. We bring you their stories on the Profile 256. Let's sit, learn, and get to know them better than we do. Only on Shutia TV.
There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you, caught by Maya Angelou. My name is Joshua Mitala, and this is the Profile 256. And today I'm with a very wonderful friend of mine. He inspires me in one way or the other, and I'm humbled that I is yet to share his story here with us on the Profile 256. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Maya Angelou, what a wonderful woman. I love her poetry and all she did. She's a wonderful woman.
I didn't introduce you. I just said I'm with a friend of mine and a colleague. So who are you and where are you rooted?
It's a pleasure really having a conversation with you. I've watched a couple of friends or people that do share their stories on Profile 256. The last time I saw Drake Ali.
No, Drake Ali has just given us a drop.
No, there's
Summer Soldier.
Summer Soldier, and then King Wesley.
Yeah, King Wesley had to share his story as well.
And a couple of others.
Yeah,
so,
many. Mr. Mpindi Abbas, Enoch Nklanga, it's a couple of them.
Well, I have quite a number of names. My name is Mordecai Maurice Martin Jr. And now that is my, you can call it an official name, but then I gave myself Mwalim Truth. I would like to be called other names like Rastafari Makoneni, and referring to Emperor Haile Selassie because of how I love him, and Marcus, referring to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I love former president of the USA John F. Kennedy, to mention but a few. So, but official
Not Obama.
Melissa. Obama is such a wonderful figure for what he became in 2008. Having, when you look at the history of the USA. So, of course, could be a wonderful person as well. I was born on 2nd November 1992, so I'm 28 years. If you happen to watch this video, probably after 20 years, you will know that I will be 48. But now I am 28. I was born in Bushen, raised in Kampala.
I think before I forget this question, are you a government spy?
What a funny question. I'm not. I don't think I can be a spy, not even for government, but for any person, so I'm not a spy.
Because you tend to post these posts on your social media platforms, and people tend to connect with what you say, and they conclude by saying you are a government state agency or something like that. So are you enjoying something from the state to post this, or maybe demoralize the opposition?
Well, one thing that you have to know is people don't want to listen to the truth. So every time you come out with the truth, they would find something, they would tag you along. They would either call you a fool, or call you stupid, or proud, or state agent. I don't belong to any political party. I'll critique President Museveni when he does something wrong. Like when there were a lot of brutalization against journalists, I came out. When a certain blogger, Alexis Ismail, came and threatened the life of Bobby Wine, his wife Babi Chagulanyi, and the children, I came out. When Bobby Wine came out and tried to make a point out of his mistake, I came out and said that, hey, you could have said, I'm not quite certain, I do not know about fiscal policy, and I'll not go into that, but I will be serving with economists who will be good at that. You don't have to come, and try to sugarcoat the mistake. And when you do that, people say you're a state agent. But when you are critiquing President Museveni or NRM leaning, then you are good, you are a hero. When now you go to Chiza Besigye or Bobby Wine or whatever, now they call you good. And see, I had other people that called me, like colleagues in the media industry. They said, hey, you've been a very wonderful gentleman, and every person was looking up to you. But now it seems like you're attacking Bobby Wine. I said, no. Because I've been good according to your own perception. That's way back when I was critiquing president. Now that I'm critiquing Bobby Wine, then I'm now bad and a spy. I'm not one.
Interesting. Looking at the boy rooted from Bushenyi, how did you come to Kampala? Are you born here, and what was your life like in Kampala?
Well, I should say, I like I said, I was born in Bushenyi. I was born with other brothers. We are 5 boys, let me say, at home. And I was born in an extremely poor family. And along the journey, my parents might have realized that things were not going to be okay. So they decided to travel to Kampala, seeking for better conditions. And so they came and started living in Kampala with us in extremely deep poverty. We were trying to define ourselves in regards to life, and trying to chat to see whether we can as well have a position in life or in this world. Things were extremely difficult, I should say, because in all this, we didn't have a plot of land in Kampala, a house to live in to start with. We were living in a funny kind of a setup, wooden something, and we didn't know about whether we were going to have lunch, even breakfast or dinner. But deep within us, we were looking, we played with kids around, and at times we'd cross over, go to the places where rich people lived, and then we wanted to be like them. Our parents, much as they were poor, they had a statement that was oversaid: pay for the child's school fees, and you'll not regret. They will change the future. So they tried to push us, but money wasn't enough. And to make matters worse, my parents were drinking. So being raised in
Both of them?
Both of them. So having both of them, now it was about how do I live with my parents and rely on them. Because it doesn't matter when you're a kid, whether your parents drink or not. I mean, that your parents just can't run away. Eventually things became so difficult. But like I told you, we are 5 boys at home. We were working, and we started working.
Are you the youngest boy?
No, I'm not
5?
the youngest. I have 2 who I follow and 2 who follow me, so I'm in the middle. So I am there. Things are extremely difficult. I do not know how everything will be. We started doing all kind of...
Continue.
My dog is barking, so I was wondering why my dog is barking. I'm a dog lover, so that's why I was pausing, wondering why my dog was barking. So,
it's fine. We can roll this. Continue.
Yeah, so raised in a family of boys, and without nothing, you don't know whether you're going to eat breakfast, supper, or lunch. So what we started doing is doing all the kind of jobs that we could think about to push ourselves. We would fetch water for neighbors and then have them.
At what age are you doing this kind of a job? You're fetching water. At what age?
I'm talking about as early as 9 years, 10, 12, 11,
P4?
13, P4, P5. And my parents were trying to push me through school, and paying money as little as 40,000 at school, 50,000. They wouldn't go beyond 100,000, excuse me. And time reached when they couldn't raise that money. First of all, they didn't have a job that you'd look at, that would fetch money probably every after a month. Away from that, they were poor. So we had to do that. My brother Alan, eldest brother, started that by going out to Owino to sell, polythene bags, help people lift their luggage, cleaning the market, to mention but a few. So we were learning. The moment we were able to go out and work, so we went. And so I did that. By 2007, I had to sit for my primary 7, and the school had requested for 50,000 shillings to register for the primary leaving examinations. None of my parents had that money. And I remember they said, if you don't have that money, you're not going to be registered, so you'll have to sit for a full year. I was at a certain school in Mutundwe Model School.
Mutundwe is in Rubaga.
Rubaga Division. I remember the teachers who were responsible at that time telling us to march out of the school if you have not paid the 50,000. I was the only student that marched out. Went back home, looked at my mom, she didn't have money. I cried, got mad at her, and I was really hungry for quite some time.
So you missed primary leaving examinations because you didn't have 50,000 Ugandan shillings.
Oh yeah. And so I sat home for a year, 2007. Then what I learned through that is now, how do I make sure that I do not lose out or miss out the following year, 2008? And we did it. I did every job you can think about, and funny jobs. And I kept my money or my savings with mom. When we got to the time of registration, I had the 50,000 registered, but then I was at Mutundwe Church of Uganda Primary School and sat for my primary 7 examinations. Then it was a completion or victory. We had won a battle, but now it was to look at the war that we had ahead. I mean, primary is done, but then that's not enough. So I told my parents I want to go to high school.
But while you're growing up, amongst your siblings, which kind of child were you? Were you a sports child? Were you involved in issues with maybe leadership? What kind of person would you describe yourself to be? Because not children are different. People, some are into music. So what's that thing that occupied you? Which kind of child were you, despite of growing up in that kind of a humble family?
Yes, despite of the humble family, I should say I was versatile. I had interest in politics, and because my mom, we had a small radio set at home, very small radio, and my mom listened to CBS FM's Mambo Bado, 100% politics. So every Saturday at around 3, while my mom was listening to Mambo Bado, I would be there listening to what these parliamentarians and other politicians were saying. And at the same time, I had interest in sports, so I would listen to sports on different radio stations while walking, going whatever I chose to go. And at that time, 2004, Manchester United, a team that I had interest in, had bought two wonderful and amazing boys that every kid would admire.
So in short, you're a sports and political kind of a child.
Yeah, that was Cristiano and Rooney.
Okay, you join O-level. Which school and how are you getting to join O-level? And how are you getting to finalize with O-level? What are those key events that happened while there? Having not had a smooth ride in primary, how was this kind of a journey when you get into O-level now?
So, after my primary, I did what I did to sit for my primary 7. I again looked for money. Doing everything. I was keeping my mom has been a very wonderful woman in regards to saving the money that I want to use for a specific thing. So I collected money, and then I went to a school called London High School. My brother, Mujuni Alan, was already there, and of course struggling, just like we were struggling. So I started helping out in frying chapats, on in communities where I lived. And not only that, I engaged myself into collecting rubbish, and taking it to throw it to wherever there was a collection center, fetching water, and I was saving money. So when I went into high school, because the school knew about our family story because of my brother, they gave me some sort of a bursary. Instead of paying...
Your brother was working in the school?
Yeah, he was there cleaning and doing whatever. He wasn't working as
a teacher.
A teacher. He was a student as well, but he was helping out. Instead of paying 120,000 for the senior one student, I paid 60,000.
Wow.
But it was still a tug of war to raise that 60,000 and push
So
myself.
at this particular time, had your parents given up following the condition and situation, and they're like, Mordecai can now try to hustle his way out and stay in school? We can maybe probably push his younger ones to also at least reach where he is. So had they given up completely because you're saying 60,000 and still the burden was onto you?
Because now I'm talking about 5 boys. So, they were looking money for all of us. But again, we were poor. They had not given up on us because they wanted, but because all the avenues they were using to get money wasn't yielding much. So, in a way, they may not tell you that you're going to push yourself, but you find it in your own way.
I know.
When you go to them, to ask for some money, and they tell you, I don't have. You do that for first time, second, third, and fourth. You're like, I should, find a way.
Okay, how are you finalizing with your O level? How are you getting to see that you sit your papers and then you stay in school? What are those key highlights that you mentioned?
Oh boy, high school was a wonderful place for me because I engaged myself into politics of the school, got elected on different positions, timekeeper, information prefect, led the writers club, and started my journey of trying to anchor news on the assembly.
Let me just drop in this. It's funny that while in school, people that get to take on those positions in high school, they see them as, at times, should I say, wannabes. They try to push themselves to be there. They think they know it all, leading this kind of a writers club. There's a debate. Kids that get involved in those activities. How did you feel, and what advice would you give to people out there? Because they could be young people, but then they look at that as something small, not knowing it's the background to the bigger positions that they would wish to aspire in the future.
There's nothing bad in wanting to be or being called a wannabe. Suppose you're a musician and they say, you want to be Michael Jackson. Who doesn't admire Michael Jackson? They say, man, you want to be like Bob Marley. Tell me any person who doesn't admire Bob Marley. I mean, there could be 10% who do not, but 90, they would die to pay a concert if he had requested for 1 million. May his soul rest in peace and the rest. So, in life, I realized, because I want to say that students that come from those kind of families try to want to get space because they know that they are left with nothing. If they do not actively involve in the leadership and all activities at school, they are left with nothing. So in doing so, they want to be identified, and two, they want a space because they live broken families and environments or communities. So they look at a school as a stage that is full of actors and actresses, and they want to be noticed that, hey, I am part of them. So students, and I'm not referring to students who come from poor families, but every student out there, make sure that you get actively involved in everything that you want to do. Starts from there. That's the foundation. Cool. So I really loved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how are you dealing with this senior 4? How are you dealing with this senior 3, senior 4, senior 1, senior 2?
It was extremely a tug of war.
We were looking at the highlights that you had.
I remember being chased out of school when every student was watching. They said, go back, you come from poor family, you don't have money. In a way that, they were not talking about only me, but a group of others who said, those that have paid, please enter the class, and those who come from poor families, the number above Mordecai,
meaning the poor,
go back home.
Or the paupers.
Yeah, it was really hurting. I would wonder why would that, even up to date, I wonder why would, much as it could be right, why would a teacher be that rude? So it was a tug of war. I remember when I was in school and I was putting on pants that had holes and shirts, oversized shirts, and not only those ones, I was putting on funny shoes, and they would laugh at me. I was very tiny and very short, and putting on funny clothes. So, and these are clothes that, every time I looked at a senior for students about to finish, then I would tell them that, please, can you give me your uniform? And I'm now talking about an old uniform. So they give it to you. They'll be like, hey, it's fine, take that one. So that's what I was putting on. I remember when at one time I wanted to be at school, to study there, to be a boarding section student because they had time to study. Not only that one, I didn't want to go back home because there was nothing at home. Nothing at all. No food, and then probably get to parents who are drunk. So I remember flunking into the dormitories, and some students would go tell teachers, and they come, you're busy hiding under a bed, they say, hey, can you go to where you belong? And those are key highlights that I remember. But on the other side, because I got myself into politics and activities at school, my confidence level were rising. My articulacy when it comes to speaking or public speaking were getting high. So every time we went to a competition, could be a debate or quiz, teachers loved me and students would want to be on my side. Not because I was the brightest, but because I was showing interest in everything that I did. So students wanted to be with me. Everything that you told me, hey, let's go there, I would be like, hey, I would come with, full-fledged.
So did you have quite a fair stay in your O-level compared to your primary that I think you didn't have, after getting involved in these school politics, you didn't have issues maybe of tuition? Were you able to finalize? Did you have issues with repeating a class like in primary, or it was now a bit fair, not best, but a bit fair?
Well, No. I didn't repeat a class. I didn't repeat a class at all. But it was really a true definition of uphill task, completing the 4 years. Missing out on school like for a month, you're looking for money that would push you. And at times you'd come at school without nothing. No breakfast, you don't have any coin. And then you look at kids eating, having breakfast. Then you'd go and, you'd have friends. You'd sit with friends who are eating their meals as breakfast or lunch. And then you're waiting for that merciful one to be like, hey, here is a piece. It was really difficult. Not only that, you get to the canteen, kids are ordering stuff that were looked to be fancy and for the children that came from rich families. Buying yogurt, buying something that was worth 500 was considered to be nice, So that is the kind of life. It was very difficult in a way that I didn't have money, but every money I had was used to pay for fees.
Okay, Mordecai, after people getting to make it in life, majority of them will get to share their stories, and there are these saddening stories. Others get to think maybe he's sharing that touching story because probably he needs maybe to get sympathy from us. I don't know. What do you have to say about that?
I'm yet I'm yet to know whether I've made it in life, but I'm quite certain that I'm not the way I used to be. There's no reason as why I would tell lies. The reason as why I share my story is to motivate and inspire a soul that is going through hell like I did. And suppose I'm lying. There are things to learn from all this lie, let me say. Because all I'm saying is you can go through this and win.
Okay, senior for I didn't ask that question as me. This what people keep on saying, and then someone shares a touching story, and then someone said no, he just wants sympathy from us so we can get to. So how do you finalize senior 4? How do you join senior 6 and senior 5?
So, well, I, through trials and tribulations, I completed senior 4. I was able to sit for my senior 4 at London High School, Kaboa, doing everything, and I'm quite certain by the time I sat for my senior 4, I had not completed my school fees. There's a teacher, Mr. Chimuli Patrick, who loved me with all his heart, soul, and mind, who guided me and wanted me to keep at school. Every time they wanted to send me back home, he would be like, please leave him. He's one of the bright students that I want to stay. Every time I wasn't involved in something, he would come. Every time my morale was down, he would try to lift it up. He became like a guardian and a friend at school. He was there to tell me that, you know what, and he wasn't rich at all. I remember where he first lived. He was living in a single room that only had a very funny bed. I went to his place. But every time he wanted to have a conversation, he would speak to me. He was a biology teacher. So at one time I remember walking with him back to his place. And then he would go and order for chapatis and beans, chikomando. And then would say, cut 3 and 3, he would pay 1,500. And then would go and eat. While I was eating, he had lost parents, he didn't have a parent. Then he told me about his life story. And then told me, I have enormous belief in you. I don't know why, but you're going to change a lot of things. Your life is headed for a miracle.
Amen.
Then I sat for my senior 4 with his support.
So, senior 4 is done. How do you get to traverse the A-level journey?
Yeah, I spent all my senior 4 vacation working like a worker bee. I worked and worked and worked and worked. But because of my background, I had moved to different schools. I didn't want this to happen. So I said I was sticking to one school. So I said I'm going back to London High School, Kaboa. A school that had 95% of the students coming from poor families. A school that, you'd be afraid to mention when you went to a seminar. You look at students who are coming from Budo, St. Mary's, Chitende.
So you literally shy out.
Namiriambo, yes, of course, they would say, hey. But then, you look at students who look nice, sharp, who are taken care of, and you are certain, they have every meal they want, and if we went for a seminar and had a break, they'd go on canteens and buy Rolex, and then you're hiding something that you can't.
Should I think that at every level you would get to things would become a little bit better from the previous?
Yeah, because of a journey of learning through experience, you'd try to fix a few things so that they don't be worse than they were. So I joined senior 5, and the school was willing to again give me a bursary. Senior 5 was a brilliant student. I was a veteran at the school. I started there from senior 1. So I went into politics, and I contested for the position of the guild president, who is referred to as head prefect on other schools. They were guild presidents, ministers. So I went into an election. I was elected guild president of London High School in Kaboa. It was a wonderful time. Every time I represented my school to speak, they would be proud.
Should someone think this gift of speaking or communicating to the public is a God-given gift to you? Is it something you discovered by yourself? Is it something you've trained yourself to do? Is it something you've learned from somewhere? Is it something you've taught yourself?
Well, talent is a gift. But if you do not work hard on that gift, it may not help at all. You get? So, it might have been a gift from God, but I've tried to water it every day. Even up to date, I still host speaking sessions because I know that the moment I don't do that, I'm losing out on a very precious gift that I was given by God. So, yes, it could be a gift that has been worked on a daily basis, even up to date. So, that's where I got the inspiration, school speaking. And this teacher, and you know, I hope this video is watched by a teacher out there, so that you can be able to know how impactful you can be in a student's life. Because my teacher, Mr. Chimuli Patrick, wherever you are, every time I speak about my life, there's no way I can miss the name Chimuli Patrick. And if you are watching wherever you are, I want to let you know that I'm so proud of you and I appreciate for what you did, how you shaped my life and taught me stuff that are extremely instrumental to me and to that. And I promise that I will never disappoint. And this is where you always want to talk about, tell teachers that, you know what, it doesn't stop at giving students notes, marking them and giving them marks. It is learning the lives of these people that you teach. They're fighting battles you don't know. They're going through a lot that you want to know. It's called teaching. Teaching is more like parenting. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chimuli Patrick, I think the message gets to reach him. Guild president, now London High School. How is life as a leader? How did you run the school as guild president, someone from a very humble background, and then now you are the top?
It was a very wonderful time, I should tell you, and I was born a people person, I think. I had a great time because I associated with all students. Those ones that sit at the back, they may not give answers, but they create great memories.
True.
These ones that sit in front, that we always think that they're bright, but it is a collection, a mixture of people that we all want to live with. So I had a great time at school. Students respecting me and respecting them. My teachers loved me so dearly. By then I was standing on assembly because I was in the Writers Club, anchoring news on the assembly, Luganda. It was such a wonderful time that every Monday, students were waiting for my part. So
should I say that this anchoring of news gets to start from high school?
Yes, absolutely. And alongside with my friend Kaiwa Godfrey Jonathan, now he's a musician, Mino Mina. That's why we started together, anchoring news, and after that we knew we were all going to pursue a bachelor's in mass communication and work on TV and radio. What
happens after senior 6 now?
Now senior 6, I know I was going for probably a world war. A world war in a sense that now I've been struggling with high school and primary, now headed to a university where you have to pay a lot of money. But after my high school, I said, I'm going to work. Right away I started going to Owino Market in Parkyard, selling polythene bag. To mention by the few, I was earning a little bit of much money than what I used to earn.
And mommy and daddy are still in Lubaga.
Yeah, they're still in Lubaga trying themselves out. Things were not okay at all. So I then told mom, I'm going to keep you with all money I'm going to be making for a year. So worked and worked and worked and worked. Things were not okay, I should tell you. But I was keeping every single coin that I had. At one time I had a friend of mine called Namudu Sandra. Namudu Sandra was served with me in my administration in high school. She was the head girl, wonderful woman. Wherever you are, Sandra, I really miss you. Sandra phoned me at around Mukwana Ked And then she was asking me about my plans in regards to the academic journey. I said, I'm still trying. I don't know what I'm going to do. Then she said, I have a friend of mine who's applying for university, but is going to get a bursary. When I had the word bursary, I'm like, oh, that could be my lucky path. So then he told me, my friend is going to apply from a far away district, like up country. So because the university, Kampala International University, was providing bursaries to students that came from far away districts and were coming from poor families. I was living in Kampala, and the assumption was that probably if you live in Kampala, you are better off. I wasn't. So I said, I want to be part of you. So I went to Buyikwe. And Buyikwe, that's where I applied from.
So were you lucky to get this bursary? What were the terms and conditions for this bursary?
I only had to pay 50,000 for the registration, and then bursary was, if you had to pay 1.3 with a bursary, then you just had to pay 640,000. And then I was given a bursary. Went back home after a year, and they told Mom, you have to break the box. And to break the box, not only the box, but even the tin that I had, a metallic one. I still do, actually. Much as I have bank accounts now, but if you can send me that short, that one, green one.
Green tin.
Green tin.
Behind that. Yeah.
This one is super full. Yeah. So I collect a lot of money here. I put 500 shillings and then donate it to a person that, God brings on my heart. I started this when I was in primary, but I don't want to break the culture.
Let's get to see this.
Super. It's full.
It's a coins.
Yeah. It's full and very heavy. I started the culture way back in my primary, and I'm not going to break the culture much as I have the bank accounts now. So we broke the tin. And the wooden one, the wooden box, I had around 1.2.
Wow. So those are 2 semesters.
Yes, I had to pay for my first semester. Bought books, requirements and whatever.
So then, how is life like?
You
joined university and
it was wonderful.
Life?
A bed of roses in the first
semester.
Yeah. But as I was traveling, walking from school to home, from work to school and everywhere. But at one time, while on the streets I was working on the streets.
What were you doing then?
Selling polythene bags on the streets of Owino. I was listening to Brian Masende on 104.9 Subi FM. There was an advert that was calling for people who wanted to work on radio. They had to come for a competition. And then I said, oh my Lord, Mordecai must be one of them. Went, registered myself, went to a competition. And I actually registered late, but I pleaded with the lady Nachimera Farida, and then she registered me, went to a competition that had over 40 people. I'm at school, but it was a competition to get a job on radio. Went to a competition, the number came from 40, 20, 10, 5 to 2.
How was the feeling like? How was the experience when you get to see you're into radio, you want to be radio, you want to register for this competition, and then you're coming in late? Was it just smooth? They just allowed you after coming in late?
No. It was pleading because she said, why did you hear that advert? I said on radio. They said, you're kidding me, let me first go up. Then she went up. Then probably she asked that, why is an old advert still running on radio? When she came back, said, no, that advert is not supposed to be on radio. I said, but please, Nachimera Nyamba. They said, do you have 50,000? I didn't have 50,000. So I called my friend Wanji Julius, he's one of my closest friends. I told him, hey, I don't have 50,000. So he gets me 50,000. I register. We start a competition.
So from 40 people
to 10 to 20.
Reduced to 20 people.
To 10.
To 10.
To
2 people.
I was one of them.
How was the feeling?
It was a feeling I had never felt before.
What did you do that you think made you win this competition?
They said I was excellent at Uganda. and that I had a beautiful voice.
Yes, you really have a beautiful voice. Can we get to
Thank
hear
you.
that beautiful voice? Every time I get to hear your stories, and then I communicate, I'm like, "Hi, Mordecai, your story is playing." You keep on saying, "Wow, that's a wonderful voice."
Blowing my own trumpet.
So can we just we need the soothing voice. How was it?
By then, I think my voice has changed tremendously.
Say, how were you saying this 90 or 80 something?
Yeah,
something
it was.
so can we get to hear that sample?
And the funny thing about that competition, that we were being elected by people that were listening in on radio. Like they would say and be like, "Hey, so and so has won,"
Yes.
push him to the next level. Then I remember you would say, "Oh, Sibyo Chano Mulunja atuuliriza oli kushikumunya katonyeze mwenda radio Suli FM. Mulira gocha mukadde kano ng'omusomi ndi Mordecai Morisa." And my voice has changed because I'm not a radio person anymore.
So we see someone from Bushenyi now taking on a competition in Buganda, Kampala, beating Baganda.
And the funny thing was,
That's defying the odds.
Suli FM was radio ever school of Buganda.
But truly, that's defying the odds.
Yeah.
So now, is life getting better?
I thought life was getting
second
better.
semester.
So I didn't work on radio much as I won the competition until in 2016, America was headed for an election. Hillary Rodham Clinton against Donald John Trump. So the person that was hosting the show wasn't there. Then I told my boss, "Hey, I understand the American system of voting, the electoral system. I can differentiate between electoral college and popular vote of voting." Then said, "Go on radio." I hosted that show, explained deeply, and everyone was amazed. And then he said,
But
"Now,
where is this street boy getting the time to follow American politics, and then he can dissect issues to do with America? Where are you getting the time? Yet you're a street boy selling polythene. You're supposed to be in class. So where are you getting the time? These things require maybe data or radio or TV. How are you able to do this?"
My mom says that when people say that they don't have time to see you, they're actually lying. People create time for what they want to do and what they want to see.
Amen.
So much as I didn't have enough time, but I had opportunities to listen. Every time I got opportunity to listen to Muchibi Salunjoji on CBS, I would be attentive. Sam Kaziwe on CBS.
Yes, Dr. Samuel Kaziwe.
Yes,
Wonderful.
Yes, I really love to listen. Gasimba Ganene Wanamo with the Peter Chibazo. Olusimba. So my
Olutindo.
interest, yes, Olutindo, I really loved so much. There's a gentleman on this Muslim radio. It's Voice of No. Voice of Africa. Is he called Najib?
Najib.
Yeah, he talked about what is happening in the Middle East and
so you're given the opportunity to sit on in those seats, one of them, and then you're trying to dissect issues to do with America.
Oh yeah, yes,
American politics.
And my boss listened and said, "Oh my Lord, now you own that show." Before I knew it all, Tamale Aiden Mukasa, who was the chief editor at
So
CBFM.
are you being given the show just because someone is away?
No,
or you're
no.
being given the show because
of
you created your own show?
No. There was someone hosting the show, but because of my knowledge regarding the subject matter on that particular day.
You getting the chance to sit in for this particular someone. Where was he?
There were issues, I think. I'm not quite certain where he was. Yeah, and I'm given an opportunity, and I started working. And let me tell you, it was wonderful. Mr. Tamale Aiden Mukasa said I was going to join the newsroom, anchoring. I started on Sunday. I told every kid that, hey, I'm going to be on radio, I'm going to be anchoring news at 9. And I remember Suli had something, news, a bumper that would bring the news bulletin. It says, news that will sound like music in your ears. Agucha. And it was just wonderful. And then I opened. Immediately after, the news was around 8 minutes. After the bulletin, I had like 10 people calling. Mana tukuli day. Mana, wherever they knew. And every time I talk about that, because it gets me emotional, because who were calling were my friends who had not completed school, friends who thought that their dreams died. So they were celebrating me and seeing me representing them. They did believe that it was happening. Remember, my friend called me Julius and said, "Mwana tutandika butanzi," and it was some sort of a statement that was just said. Said, "Nego manyi bosinga." I wasn't about being better than any person, but oh my mom listened. My dad asked me, "How do you know Luganda?" Because he still has the Luganda accent when he's speaking Luganda. Where did you learn all this Luganda from? But I was listening to a lot of CBS, and reading a lot of Bukende and other Luganda books. Like my favorite book of all time is called Chikonyogo. It's a Luganda book.
Wow, so semester 1, semester 2, which year are we in right now?
Semester 1, year 1 was wonderful. Then year 2, I don't have the tuition.
But you're working on radio?
Yeah. Radio station was paying me 150,000. That couldn't push me through school and do nothing. But yes, I was working on radio. Things failed. I was like, what am I going to do? Late payment charges were adding up every after 2 weeks at university. I said, oh my. Went back to streets, but still I failed. At one time I realized that probably things were going to be extremely difficult. I was going to fail totally. So I went to my big brother, King, who had dropped out of school in senior school, and told him, "Hey bro, I don't think things are going to work out. I'm dropping out." And even up to date, I still remember the look on my brother's face. And with teary eyes, he said to me, "You just can't do that." And I wondered. I told him, "What are we going to do?" He said, "Man, I failed. You can't fail too. You are representing us." I'm like, okay. What am I going to do? Then says, "Do you have some money?" I said, "Yes, I have 40,000. He added 10,000 and went down to Chukuru, bought lollipops, sweets, chocolates, to mention very few. I started selling that at school. So I would go to lecture halls and be like, "Hey, my name is so and so. I want to let you know that I'm selling sweets." And I got nicknames and laughing at me. I said, okay. But still, money wasn't enough to help me.
How are you trying to overcome this kind of a challenge that is really now acting as a barrier to...
No, I was just, because from way back they were laughing at me how I looked at school.
I'm saying, how are you overcoming this challenge of tuition at this particular time? It's now acting as a barrier to a dream that is almost coming true of you getting done with university. So how are you trying to maneuver?
There was nothing. I was working on radio, but I would finish work on radio, then go on streets and help sing, like calling customers, and people would pay me. So people would be listening. At one time I would sit on borders and be like, "Hey, do you listen to Subi FM?" And yes. "Do you know the anchors of news?" They would say, "Yes, there's this guy, and they would mention my name. Now ask them, "How is that guy?" I said, "He's nice. You will go to CBS, I think. They will still be they'll post him." But this person was talking to me. And so I did everything.
Okay.
And along the journey, one thing that really happened is I was able to pay money in, pieces, I may say. But then there's a friend of mine called Isaac Owori. Isaac had a conversation with someone about my soul. He told that person about how good I was. And that person got interested in me. She was in the USA. And I was in my last year now. And this person, being told about my story, she got interested and wanted to talk to me. She started talking, and then at that time Subi FM was sold off. I was in Mbali when they told me the news. So I was having a conversation with her, told her, Sui FM has been, the radio station where I work has been sold off. I'm still following up on this stuff, I will talk to you later. She said, has been sold off? Can we talk for more 20 minutes? I said, yes. Before I completed the conversation, so she told me I'm going to pay for your tuition. And that is 1 year that I was married with. She paid for my last year at university. But before I completed university, I had a lot of things that were said about me. They said I was very short and small. My face was ugly to appear on TV. But the belief with me, or within me, told me that I could. And there was no barrier that was going to stop me. I went to a competition of the Media Challenge Initiative. And there was a debate at campus before we went to a competition. Should I represent the university as English, Anchor, or Uganda? I said, choose. Anywhere you put me, I promise I'll bring you an award. There was still debates of some people saying that, let's choose a muscular guy, taller, because that's
physique.
That's the TV, figure. Mm-hmm. But I said, I want to go. Mm-hmm. And, went to trial, and they said I was good. Mm-hmm. Went into, they registered my name, went to a competition. I remember I had a couple of people. It was...
Bring us the Media Challenge Award, it's right there. No, we are now... This is the Media Challenge Initiative Award.
Best.
Looking for, no, best news. Uncle Uganda, it's right there.
So went to a competition, and against all odds with competing with students from universities, I won the award alongside Kahumza Sandra, who won the Luganda news anchor.
Luganda?
Sorry, English. So I won Luganda. Kahumza Sandra won English. Kahumza Sandra is at NTV. I'm at NBS. They said I was ugly, and they said I was short, I was small. That didn't matter. The dream came true.
So Mordecai gets done with university. What next?
I'm done with university, and I wanted to work on radio. I wanted to work on TV. And now I said, how am I going to join TV?
Yes.
The CEO of the Media Challenge Initiative took us to Record Television. And we had a conversation with the chief editor by then, Chris Kenye, at the TV. And then he said there were opportunities, and we didn't know how that was going to manifest. I remember speaking to the CEO of the Media Challenge Initiative, Abasi Peter. I told him, here is a position. I'm going to be employed here. He laughed, and I was as if I was kidding. And then he called others and said, and I was serious. But before we left Record Television that was situated in industrial area, I got the contacts and the Facebook account of Chris Igeni, friended him and talked to him. And other colleagues of mine were already there. My young boy Stevie, now counselor.
Rough.
Yeah. Sandra, now at NTV. They were already there. So I got there. He called me, to see whether they could help me, train me, just like others. But at one time, the anchor of the news had issues. Paul Matovu, who had to anchor the 6 p.m. bulletin, had issues. And at that time, I had exhibited a tremendous passion of what I want to do. My colleague, Mayombo Stephen, who I love very much, was there. So they told him, give your coat to Mordecai. He wanted to do the same thing, but probably he had not shown interest. So I put on his coat. It was a very fancy coat that had glitters. Went on TV. But before I do that, I called everyone. When we're going to be on TV. 6 p.m., I was the one anchoring news. I remember when I first anchored my first bulletin, coming out of the studio, I received a hug from Nabukela Fiona, who was a news anchor as well. hugged me and said, "You are so good." I said, "Thank you." That. But
So you kickstart TV,
Kickstart TV.
as simple as it is.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving Record TV to NTV?
NTV.
To NBS? We are not ashamed to mention any media
Absolutely.
house right
Oh,
here.
sure.
We can mention all of them.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I love all of them.
Yes. So how are you leaving Record TV?
Working for
To
Record
NBS.
Television for a year. Now, I was able to anchor Luganda Bulletin, but then host the English show,
Interesting.
Daybreaker, and People's Agenda. And I attracted attention from different people. Those that were watching TVs and other people in the media industry.
I see you also acting on Record Radio.
I was able to host Bobby Wine, Mujisha Muntu,
Senyoni.
Patrick Boya Moriat. Senyon, when actually his first appearance on TV, when he had just been appointed as spokesperson of the People Power by then, before NUP, it was Record Television. So everyone was talking about me. Who is this young chap on this TV that is, attracting people? And I was the one there. And at one time, I hosted a show, People's Agenda. I think it was with Meda Dubega Sebona and other, I'm forgetting the name. Went back home, it was a Wednesday, then went back home Wednesday night. Then in the morning, my phone rang. It was Joyce Vagala, now woman MP Mitala, saying, "Hey, I would want us to talk." Then she was inviting me to MBS to have a conversation to see how I can join them. She asked me a very funny question, which I really loved, and it really helped explain a bit about my story. He said, "How much do you want to be paid?" Now imagine a person that was paid 150,000 shillings on Subi, and was, of course, still trying with Record Television. How is now being asked how much you want. She took me, met Kim Karisa, the CEO of Next Media Services. And that was around September 2019. And then they said they were hiring me as a news anchor and reporter. I said, wonderful. But then at that time, I was flying out to the USA. So by the time...
How are you even now flying out to the USA?
Because of the contact I got with the person that really loved me so much.
The person that took care of your tuition.
Yeah, in my last year. And other friends of mine, very many of them now, invited me to the USA. So they give me a job at NBS, but I have my passport in my hands. I said, "I am sorry, I cannot join you now. I'm flying out to the USA. They said, "No, it's fine, you can fly and then come back." I said I was flying October, stay there in November, come back December 1st, 2019. I was there October, November, December, Jan, came back
2020.
2020, last year. And hey, the door was still open. Started working. I've been able to do whatever I wanted when I was a kid. I've worked on radio and TV. I've anchored news, hosted shows, produced them. Dream set, dream accomplished.
Interesting. We are in the last minutes, I should say. But looking back, what's that moment you feel was tough for you? Was hard for you, that every time you think about it, it could even bring tears down your cheek?
There were quite many
What
moments that
on?
really bring tears is remembering how I was bullied to the extent that at one time I wanted to commit suicide. When I was laughed at and called names, and everyone that looked at me thought I was going to fail. That moment bring tears. The moments when I was chased out of the school because I didn't have school fees, and they called me names that I was born by poor mother, poor woman, poor father, and things were not going to come true.
Can you take those shits off?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was extremely difficult, those moments. And then days when I walked to campus and from campus on foot. Very hard moments. But what beats them all is moments when I looked at things I wanted to do and I couldn't have an opportunity because people didn't believe in me.
Okay, we get. So, how about that moment when you defied the odds? That moment that brings a smile onto your face every time you remember it. What's that moment?
The moment I held this award out of the competition, it is a wonderful moment. I was at Serena Hotel, 5-star hotel in the country, with students that came from all different backgrounds. I beat them all who were in this category. And then it was breaking everything they had said about my name. They said, hey, you should be a Muganda to Uncle Uganda. I won a word, I wasn't Muganda. They said you should have muscular body and then you should look handsome. I don't know that I was handsome but I didn't have that muscle.
Wow. So, to light this is the lighter moment. I've been trying to follow you on social media, and then there is a lady that was so familiar. There was a lady that was so familiar to your social media. This is the light moment. Are you two people date?
That person?
Shan? I think the name was familiar to your statuses on WhatsApp.
Oh yeah.
Oh
my. Shan Ngarambe. She was my girlfriend. She's now my ex-girlfriend. Very wonderful woman, or young woman, if I may say. Yes, we had a very, very wonderful time together.
Okay.
Yeah. And things did work out.
How to conclude this show? Yes, Jonathan.
But before you conclude
anything else?
I do really want to say a few words to everyone that is watching. My story is not the best story that you have listened to. There's so many people that have worse stories than one that you've listened to. But there are lessons to pick from each story that you listen to. I paid myself through school. I've suffered, but I've defied the odds. You can be what you want to become. There's a man that said, he who says I can and he who says I can't, both are right. Because if you say I can't, I mean you're not going to do nothing. If you say I can, you wake up and do something. So you are both right. Choose to say, yes, I can, because you can. And remember, if you do not do what you are supposed to do, you are denying this world so much gifts and potential within you. Every one of us is gifted. And please may you discover the gifts and please use them to impact this world. There's going to be challenges. But one man said that we can complain because rose bushes have thorns, but we should rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. So as you complain about this, can you see the grateful side of it? And you are able to move. You are going to make it to the top. But you should be deliberate on everything that you do. It is using the mind. Be deliberate. The mind is just like a garden. Whatever you plant in it grows or brings forth the results. If you do not plant nothing in your mind, useless weeds, and I'm talking about plenty of useless weeds, are going to grow in your mind. And I'm quoting James Allen's book, As a Man Thinketh, of 1904, not quite certain. But your mind, be deliberate. And I am so glad that you've been able to watch me, and may I see you at the top. There's no need to compete. There's enough space for all of us at the top.
True. I've seen you push for a particular organization. How far?
Oh yeah, that organization is called Spreading Wings International. As a result, and what I've seen people have done in my life, I think like I have to do something like a repayment. So I started Spreading Wings International, which literally means spreading the wings of love across the world. And every after 6 months, we organize charity events where we give hope to people. And I would want you to join us. If you really want to be part of this, you can call me on +256 758 627 764, +256 758 627 764, and be part of the change in this world.
Wow, quite interesting story. Thanks for having that kind of a heart that after going through all this, you're able to give a hand, extend a hand to those that need your support or those that need attention. A boy that had to struggle to make sure that he gets done with his school, trying different things such as selling polythene bags, fetching water. He's now a news anchor on one of the leading stations, TV stations in Uganda. Lessons from this is that if you have a talent, the way he had it, try to irrigate that talent and then get the best out of it. I think whoever is watching or whoever has watched, you've been inspired by his story. I personally am inspired by some of the things about him, and I've always told him, I'm inspired by this, I'm inspired by that. My name is Joshua Mitala, M10 on the camera, Shooter Media Uganda, and Spreading Wings International, Mordecai Mulisa Martin Jr. He hosted us to have this show. I think I need to sign out.
They are brave. They are our inspiration, our hope, mentors, and game changers. They are your leaders in the political arena, business world, entertainment, and in the paradise of sports. We bring you their stories on the Profile 256. Let's sit, learn, and get to know them better than we do. Only on Shooter TV.